So William and Catherine just made a move together that the palace did not see coming, and the reason it matters is that they made it as a unit, because for all the disputes this family has weathered, for all the confrontations and the maneuvers and the quiet blocking of one another's plans, most of them have been the work of individuals. William acting, Catherine acting, Charles deciding and intervening. But this move was different. This was William and Catherine acting together in concert as a partnership, and the coordination of it, the fact that they moved as one, gave it a force that no individual action could have carried. And when the palace announcement made the move public, Camilla was furious because she recognized immediately what it meant. She was no longer facing one opponent. She was facing a partnership, unified and deliberate, and a partnership is far harder to resist than any individual could ever be. Let me take you into what happened, because the significance is entirely in understanding what it means when William and Catherine act as one. To understand why the joint move was so significant, you first have to understand the nature of the partnership between William and Catherine, because their partnership is not merely a marriage, it is an alliance, a genuine union of two people who share a vision of the institution's future and who complement each other in the pursuit of it. William brings decisiveness, the willingness to confront and to act forcefully. Catherine brings strategic subtlety, the capacity to resolve matters through quiet, well-considered moves. And when the two of them combine these qualities, when they act together drawing on their complementary strengths, they possess a range of capability that neither would possess alone. This is the partnership that will define the next reign, and its strength lies precisely in the combination of the two people who form it. For most of the family's recent disputes, William and Catherine have acted somewhat separately, each addressing the challenges in their own way. William has confronted and blocked, Catherine has resolved through her quiet moves. But they have not, until now, combined their efforts in a single coordinated action, moving together as a unified partnership. And this joint move, this combining of their efforts, represented an escalation, a demonstration that the two of them could act as one when the situation required it. It signaled that the partnership was not merely a private union, but an operational alliance, capable of coordinated action, capable of moving together toward a shared objective with a force that their separate efforts had never quite achieved. Before we go further, real quick, if you are into deep dives on royal stories that actually sit with the complexity instead of just picking a side, hit subscribe and join us here at Crown Watch. We are building something good. Okay, back to it. Here is what happened. William and Catherine determined that a significant step needed to be taken regarding the future of the monarchy, a step that would establish their position and their vision for the reign to come. And rather than one of them acting alone, they decided to act together, to make the move as a unified partnership. They coordinated their efforts, aligned their approach, and moved in concert toward the shared objective. And the result was made public through a palace announcement, a formal communication that established the move as an accomplished fact. The announcement made clear that William and Catherine had acted together as a partnership and that their joint move had established something significant about the shape of the future reign. The joint nature of the move was its most important feature, because a move made by William and Catherine together carried a force that a move by either of them alone could not have carried. It demonstrated the unity of the partnership, the alignment of the two people who would lead the next reign, the coordination of their efforts toward a shared vision, and this unity was itself a source of strength. Because an opponent facing a unified partnership faces a far more formidable challenge than an opponent facing a single individual. The partnership can draw on the combined strengths of both its members. It can coordinate its efforts, present a united front, act with a force that no individual could match. And Camilla, facing this unified partnership, recognized that she was confronting a challenge far greater than any she had faced before. The way the joint move came together, by the accounts that have circulated, reflected the depth of the partnership between William and Catherine, because a coordinated move of this kind requires more than two people happening to act in the same direction. It requires genuine alignment, shared understanding, the kind of coordination that comes only from a partnership in which both members trust each other completely and understand each other's strengths. William and Catherine, by the accounts available, developed the move together, each contributing to its design, each bringing their particular capabilities to bear. William contributed his decisiveness, his willingness to establish a firm position. Catherine contributed her strategic subtlety, her understanding of how to make the move most effective, and together they shaped a move that combined both of their strengths, a move that neither could have devised alone. This collaborative development reflected the nature of their partnership because William and Catherine do not merely support each other. They think together, plan together, act together. Their partnership is a genuine collaboration in which each contributes to the decisions they make, in which the outcomes reflect the combined thinking of both. And the joint move was a product of this collaboration, a demonstration of how the two of them work together, each contributing their strengths to a shared objective. It reflected the depth of their alignment, the completeness of their partnership, the extent to which they operate as a genuine unit rather than as two individuals who happen to be married. The coordination required for the joint move also reflected the trust between William and Catherine, because a coordinated move requires each partner to rely on the other, to trust that the other will play their part, to depend on the other's judgment and capability. William had to trust Catherine's strategic contribution. Catherine had to trust William's decisiveness, and the fact that they could coordinate their efforts so effectively reflected the depth of the trust between them, the confidence each had in the other, the reliability of the partnership they had built. This trust is the foundation of their partnership, and the joint move demonstrated it, showing how completely William and Catherine rely on and trust each other in the pursuit of their shared objectives. The palace announcement that made the move public was itself significant, because the decision to make the move public, to establish it through a formal announcement, reflected the confidence of the partnership. William and Catherine did not make their move quietly in the shadows in a way that could be reversed or contested. They made it publicly through a formal announcement, establishing it as an accomplished fact that carried the weight of a public declaration. This publicity reflected the strength of their position, their confidence that the move would stand, their willingness to establish it openly rather than through the quiet maneuvering that had characterized so many of the family's disputes. The public announcement was a statement of the partnership's confidence, a demonstration that William and Catherine were prepared to establish their position openly and to stand behind it. Camilla's fury at the announcement reflected her recognition of what the joint move meant, because Camilla understood immediately that she was now facing a unified partnership rather than an individual opponent. And a unified partnership is far harder to resist. When Camilla had faced William alone, or Catherine alone, she had at least been facing a single opponent whose efforts she might hope to counter through her own maneuvering. But a unified partnership, combining the strengths of both William and Catherine, presented a challenge she could not hope to counter. The partnership was too strong, too coordinated, too unified for Camilla's maneuvering to overcome. And her fury reflected the recognition of this reality, the understanding that the joint move had established a challenge she could not meet. How Camilla experienced the announcement in the private space where such things are felt can only be imagined, but the accounts that have circulated suggest her fury was rooted in a genuine recognition of her weakened position. Because Camilla is a shrewd reader of the institution's dynamics, and she would have understood immediately what the joint move signified. It was not merely a single step that she might counter. It was a demonstration that the two people she had been contending with could and would act together, that the partnership between them was operational, that she now faced a unified force rather than two separate individuals. And this recognition, the understanding that her position had fundamentally weakened, was the source of her fury. Camilla's fury was, in this sense, the fury of someone confronting the collapse of a strategic assumption, because Camilla had, throughout the family's disputes, been able to contend with William and Catherine as individuals, to counter one while the other remained uninvolved, to face her opponents one at a time. This had given her at least the possibility of resistance, the hope that she might counter individual actions through her own maneuvering, but the joint move destroyed that possibility. It demonstrated that William and Catherine would act together, that Camilla would face them as a unified partnership rather than as separate individuals, that her strategy of contending with them one at a time was no longer viable. And the collapse of this strategy, the recognition that she now faced a unified force, was what provoked her fury. By the accounts available, Camilla did not respond to the announcement with a public objection, because she understood that a public objection would only confirm her weakened position and draw attention to her inability to counter the joint move. Instead, her fury remained largely private, expressed in the closed spaces of her household rather than in any public statement. But the privacy of her fury did not lessen its intensity. Because Camilla understood the significance of what had happened, understood that the joint move represented a fundamental shift in her position, understood that she now faced a challenge she could not meet, and this understanding, however privately she held it, fueled a fury that reflected the depth of the setback she had experienced. The significance of the joint move for Camilla extended beyond the specific step it accomplished, because it demonstrated that the partnership between William and Catherine was operational, that the two of them could act together as a unified force, that they would combine their efforts when the situation required. And this demonstration was devastating for Camilla's position, because it meant that Camilla could no longer hope to face William and Catherine separately, to counter one while the other remained uninvolved. She now had to reckon with the possibility that they would act together as a unified partnership whenever a significant matter arose. And against a unified partnership, Camilla's position was far weaker than it had been when she faced them as individuals. Charles's reaction to the joint move was, by the accounts available, one of recognition and perhaps a degree of resignation. Recognition, because Charles understood the significance of William and Catherine acting together, the strength that their unity conferred, the formidable challenge it presented to anyone who might oppose them. And resignation, because Charles understood that the joint move established the strength of the partnership that would lead the next reign, a strength that would shape the institution's future regardless of the disputes of the present. Charles recognized that William and Catherine had demonstrated the unity that would define their reign, and he recognized that this unity was a source of strength for the institution, even as it presented a challenge for Camilla. His reaction reflected the complexity of his position, caught between his appreciation of the partnership's strength and his concern for the wife whose position that strength diminished. The deeper significance of the joint move lies in what it reveals about the nature of the next reign, because the move demonstrated that the next reign will be led by a genuine partnership, by two people acting as a unified force, combining their complementary strengths toward a shared vision. This is a different model of leadership from the one that has traditionally defined the monarchy, in which a single sovereign leads and the consort supports. William and Catherine are establishing a model of genuine partnership in which both members act as principals, in which their combined strength exceeds the sum of their individual capabilities, in which the leadership of the institution is shared between two people who move as one. And the joint move was a demonstration of this model, a preview of how the next reign will operate, a signal that the future monarchy will be led by a partnership rather than by a single figure. It is illuminating to place this model in historical context because it represents a genuine departure from how the monarchy has traditionally conceived of leadership. Throughout its history, the British monarchy has been organized around the individual sovereign. The monarch reigns and the consort supports. Elizabeth reigned and Philip supported her. The consort might be a powerful presence, might influence the sovereign privately, might play an important role in the family's life, but the strategic leadership of the institution belonged to the sovereign alone. The consort did not share in it, did not act as a principal in the governance of the institution, did not co-lead in any formal sense. This was the model that governed the monarchy for centuries, the model of a single sovereign supported by a consort. What William and Catherine are establishing is different. They are establishing a model of genuine partnership in which both members act as principals, in which the leadership of the institution is shared between two people who move as one. This is a significant departure from the traditional model, and it reflects perhaps a recognition that the challenges facing the modern monarchy require more than a single figure can provide. The demands on the institution have grown, the questions about its relevance have intensified, the workload has expanded, and meeting these challenges may genuinely require a partnership. Two principals combining their strengths rather than a single sovereign supported by a consort. William and Catherine, by establishing the model of partnership leadership, are adapting the institution to these changed circumstances, building a form of leadership suited to the challenges the modern monarchy faces. Whether this departure from tradition will prove wise is a question that only time can answer, because the traditional model, for all its limitations, had certain advantages. It provided clarity about where authority resided. It avoided the ambiguities that can arise when leadership is shared. It concentrated responsibility in a single figure who could be held accountable. The partnership model sacrifices some of these advantages in exchange for the strength that a partnership provides. And whether this trade-off will serve the institution well, whether the strength of partnership will outweigh the clarity of individual leadership, is a question that William and Catherine's reign will ultimately answer. But the model itself represents a genuine innovation, a reconception of how the monarchy's leadership might be structured, and the joint move was its first clear demonstration. This model of partnership leadership has significant implications for the institution's future, because a partnership is more resilient than an individual. It can draw on the strengths of two people rather than one. It can present a united front against challenges. It can coordinate its efforts to achieve objectives that no individual could achieve alone. And a monarchy led by such a partnership is a stronger monarchy, more capable of meeting the challenges it faces, more resilient in the face of the pressures that bear upon it. William and Catherine, by establishing the model of partnership leadership, are strengthening the institution they will lead, ensuring that it will be led by a unified force rather than by a single figure whose individual limitations might constrain it. The joint move was a demonstration of this strength, a preview of the resilient partnership that will define the next reign. For Catherine specifically, the joint move represented a significant elevation of her role, because by acting together with William as a genuine partner in a coordinated move, Catherine established herself as a principal in the leadership of the institution rather than merely a supporter of William. She was not standing behind William, supporting his action. She was acting alongside him as an equal partner, contributing her own strengths to a joint effort. And this establishment of Catherine as a principal, as a genuine partner in the leadership of the institution, was itself significant. It signaled that the next reign would be led by two principals rather than by a sovereign and a supporter, that Catherine's role would be one of genuine partnership rather than mere support. The joint move elevated Catherine, establishing her as a leader in her own right, a principle in the partnership that would define the next reign. The reaction of the wider family to the joint move reflected their understanding of its significance. Princess Anne, who has long recognized the strength of the partnership between William and Catherine, regarded the joint move with approval, because Anne understood the significance of the two of them acting together, the strength that their unity conferred, the formidable partnership it demonstrated. She recognized that William and Catherine had shown the unity that would define their reign, that they had demonstrated the strength of the partnership that would lead the institution. And Anne's approval reflected her recognition that the institution would be well served by such a unified partnership, that the strength of the union between William and Catherine was a source of strength for the monarchy itself. Edward, characteristically, understood the joint move in terms of the partnership it demonstrated, and he approved of the strength that partnership represented, because Edward, who values the institution's stability above all, recognized that a monarchy led by a unified partnership would be more stable, more resilient, more capable of meeting its challenges. He appreciated the strength that William and Catherine's unity conferred, the resilience it provided, the formidable leadership it promised. Edward's approval reflected his commitment to the institution's stability, his recognition that a unified partnership at the center of the monarchy was a source of that stability, and his approval, aligned with Anne's, established a consensus about the value of the partnership that William and Catherine had demonstrated. Charles's position in the aftermath of the joint move deserves a fuller consideration, because it captured the complexity that has defined his role throughout these disputes. On one hand, Charles could recognize the strength of the partnership between William and Catherine, could appreciate that a unified partnership at the center of the next reign would serve the institution well, could take satisfaction in the knowledge that the monarchy would be led by two capable people acting as one. This was, in a sense, exactly what Charles had hoped for, the strong partnership he had wished he could have built in his own first marriage, the unified leadership that would carry the institution forward. On the other hand, the joint move diminished Camilla, presented her with a challenge she could not meet, deepened her isolation within the family. And Charles's love for Camilla meant that he could not fully celebrate a development that hurt her, even as he recognized its value for the institution. This tension between Charles's appreciation of the partnership's strength and his concern for Camilla's diminishment has been the defining feature of his position throughout the family's disputes. Again and again, Charles has found himself caught between his recognition of what the institution needed and his love for the wife whose position that need diminished. And the joint move was another instance of this pattern, another moment in which Charles had to hold together his appreciation of the future partnership and his concern for his present wife. He could not resolve the tension. He could only hold it, living with the knowledge that the strength of the partnership he valued came at the cost of the diminishment of the woman he loved. By the accounts available, Charles did not attempt to counter the joint move or to mitigate its effect on Camilla. Because he understood that the partnership between William and Catherine was the future of the institution, that its strength was a source of strength for the monarchy, that the move they had made reflected the leadership that would define the next reign. Charles could offer Camilla comfort in the face of her diminishment, but he could not oppose the partnership that would lead the institution forward, could not undermine the strength that would serve the monarchy well, could not act against the future for the sake of the present. And so Charles accepted the joint move as he has accepted so much else, recognizing its value for the institution even as he grieved its cost to Camilla. So here is what I want you to sit with. Was the joint move by William and Catherine a demonstration of healthy partnership, a preview of the strong unified leadership that will define the next reign? Or did the coordinated action against Camilla represent a concentration of force that the family will have to reckon with, two principles combining their strength against a single, increasingly isolated figure? Does the model of partnership leadership that William and Catherine are establishing represent a positive evolution for the institution, a strengthening of its leadership through the union of two capable people? Or does it raise questions about the concentration of power, about the formidable force that a unified partnership represents, about the difficulty of any check on two people who move as one? And was Camilla's fury justified, the understandable reaction of a woman facing a challenge she cannot meet? Or was it the response of someone who had come to rely on facing her opponents individually rather than as a unified force? There is no clean answer, and anyone who gives you one quickly has not sat with the full weight of what the joint move represents. What we know is this: William and Catherine acted together as a unified partnership, combining their complementary strengths in a coordinated move. They made the move public through a palace announcement, establishing it as an accomplished fact that carried the weight of a formal declaration. And they demonstrated through their unity the strength of the partnership that will define the next reign, a strength that left Camilla furious because it presented a challenge she could not meet. The family, for better or worse, will be led one day by this unified partnership, by two principals who move as one, whose combined strength exceeds the sum of their individual capabilities. And the future of the monarchy has been given a preview of the partnership that will define it, a partnership whose unity is its strength and whose coordinated action established through a single bold move, the formidable force that will lead the institution into its next era. The next chapter of this family is still being written, and when it moves, we will be here to talk about it. If this video made you see any part of this story differently, drop your position in the comments. I read every one of them. And on a question this complicated, I genuinely want to know where you land. Subscribe if you are not already with us, because the next chapter is coming, and it is going to be one worth watching.